My bad. I had the mic muted. What's poppin'? What's poppin'? It's a beautiful Tuesday. We back with another video. Y'all know what it is, man. It's the Keep It Authentic podcast with your host, Blanco. What the business is. You know, we just passed Valentine's Day, so I hope everybody had a beautiful Valentine's Day. I hope everybody had a safe and beautiful weekend. But like I said, man, we back with another video. And man, oh man, little baby, little baby, little baby. What the hell is wrong with you, my boy? What is wrong with you, man? Hey, listen, you know what I'm saying? Before we get into this video, man, let me just say this, right? For all of you rappers, you know what I'm saying? Whether you on the bottom tier, just starting out, or whether you a part of the upper echelon that's been in the game, you know, doing your thing. Listen, man, I don't understand why y'all, you know, y'all making thousands, hundreds of thousands, some of y'all millions, you know what I'm saying, of dollars, man. And y'all just can't leave the streets alone. I just don't get it. Man, listen, let me be the first to tell y'all, if I was making millions of dollars, I don't give a fuck what it is I'm doing. If I'm motherfucking content creating, if I'm rapping, if I'm DJing, if I'm producing, whatever the fuck it is, if I'm being paid and I'm being paid well to do it, you know what I'm saying, then you can't get me to participate in no motherfucking crime, bro. It just ain't gonna go down like that. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you know you the type of person that come from that side already. You done already indulged in the hustling. You know, you've been doing your thing since you was a teenager or whatever, and you just been popping your shit in the street. Now you just been blessed with this gift, you know what I'm saying? And you've been blessed with a blessing from God above to, you know, have a record label, take interest in you and sign you to a multi-million-dollar contract, and you just been in the music game, making money, and you still in the streets. You still provide guns to the niggas in your neighborhood. You still providing motherfucking bricks to the niggas in your neighborhood. Nigga, you crazy. You know what I'm saying? You need to provide a job for these motherfucking niggas. That's what you need to do. You need to find a motherfucking job. Nigga, I don't give a fuck if you gotta walk around in every motherfucking city and state that I go to and pass out these motherfucking flyers to the show. I don't give a fuck if you gotta walk around and hold posters of me letting motherfuckers know that I'm in town this weekend or whatever. But you gonna do something that's legal. Because I got a legal business going on that's worth millions of motherfucking dollars. And I'm not finna let you goofy ass niggas that just can't get out the motherfucking streets tear my shit the fuck down. You know what I'm saying? So little baby, right? Listen, bro. You're a rapper. You know what I'm saying? You've been in the game for quite some time now. You know what I'm saying? You done made a name for yourself. You pretty much a household name. You know what I'm saying? So there is no motherfucking excuse on why you should be involved in anything like this. You know what I'm saying? Now, listen, I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all done probably heard by now on the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, we just passed the Super Bowl. It was last February the 7th. You know what I'm saying? Or February the 8th, one of them days. But we just passed Super Bowl weekend, right? Shout out to the Seattle Seahawks for winning the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? I rolled with the Seattle Seahawks because that was the team that knocked my team out. I'm a 49ers fan. So for all of y'all that want to talk shit about the 49ers, y'all know what y'all can do. Y'all know what y'all can do. I ain't trying to hear none of that 49er shit, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a die-hard 49er fan, gonna be that way to the day I die. But, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, right? During Super Bowl weekend, right? You know, there's a lot of parties and a lot of shit going on. You know, people throwing parties, people throwing after parties, people throwing get-togethers, all kinds of shit. Niggas is drinking, niggas is smoking on the ganja, all that type of shit, right? But needless to say, right? So anyway, here we got 49ers defensive lineman, Keion White. You know what I'm saying? He's throwing himself a little, you know, after party or Super Bowl party or whatever's going on. You know, now mind you, this is a star defensive lineman. I think he wears number 56, I want to say. Keion White for the defense, for the San Francisco 49ers, you know. But anyway, right, he's throwing himself a little, Super Bowl party. He got all his peoples over there. They having a good time. It's a private event. It's a little spot that he rented out. So it's a private event. It's not open to the public. You know what I'm saying? Now, in some of the reports, they're saying that this spot that he rented, you know what I'm saying, it was, kind of still open to the public, but he had like a little private area that, you had to have, permission to get into. So I don't know if you had to have an invitation or if your name had to be on a guest list or whatever the situation may be, right? But Lil Baby was not, he was not authorized to be there. You know what I'm saying? He came into the club, you know what I'm saying? This is just what the reports are saying. He came into the club, after he, did his show or whatever, and I guess the club wasn't really jumping, you know, to suit his taste. So he figured out, okay, there's another little party going on in here. Let me go ahead and go down to this other party and see what's going on. And I guess when he tried to get into the party, he was met with resistance. He wasn't allowed in. And you know how some motherfuckers is, especially these rappers, man. When you tell these motherfuckers no, especially when they feel like they superstars and they supposed to get the royal treatment, when you tell these motherfuckers no, the pride gets in the way. So now niggas feel like they got to get disrespectful and they got to get macho and, they got to let their nuts hang. So that's, some words was exchanged, nonetheless, right? But first of all, look here, what we're going to do is, right, we're going to read this article first. That's what we're going to do. We're going to read this article, you know what I'm saying? And, hold on, let me get this article pulled up. My bad. I should have had this already pulled up. But give me a second here. We're going to read this article real quick. We're going to get in to the details of how this altercation or this incident took place. Let me pull this video up real quick. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me pull this up. Right here. Okay, here we go. All right. So here we go right here. Here we go right here. Okay. So now we're going to pull this article up. And as you can see, it says NFL player Keion White was shot after an altercation with Lil Baby during Super Bowl party. All right. So we're going to read this article first. And then we're going to, look at a video where, they explain more details of it, and I think in this video that Lil Baby actually responds to the situation because he's claiming self-defense in this situation. He's claiming self-defense, and he's making it seem like, that, Keion White and his people were the aggressors, so he was just defending himself. But let's read this story real quick. Okay, so here we go. It says, all right, make sure. So we start down here. All right, so it says 49ers player Keion White suffered a gunshot wound to the ankle following an altercation with Lil Baby on February the 9th. Okay, NFL player Keion White is recovering after suffering a gunshot wound in San Francisco in the early morning hours of Monday, February 9th. So this is a day, I believe a day after the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl was the 8th. So this is a day after the 8th. So I'm assuming that the party, started on the day of the Super Bowl, and went into the early morning hours of the next day, which would have been Monday, February 9th. Let's keep reading the article. It says, according to the San Francisco Police Department, the 27-year-old 49ers defensive lineman was shot in the ankle following an altercation at a Super Bowl party at Dahlia's, a bar and nightclub on Mission Street in San Francisco, NBC News reported. Okay, so this is at Dahlia's restaurant, which is a bar and nightclub on Mission Street in San Francisco. All right, so it says officers responded to a shooting at the nightclub at approximately 4 a.m. local time. When they arrived, they found a victim suffering a gunshot wound to suffering an apparent gunshot wound who was later identified as White. Per the San Francisco Standard, the altercation reportedly involved rapper Lil Baby, whose real name is Dominique Armani Jones. Okay, Dominique Armani Jones, after he and members of his entourage attempted to enter White's private event. So like I was telling y'all earlier, this was a private event that he had going on. Now, I understand that this is a bar and a nightclub. So even when, it's very seldom, not saying that it doesn't happen, because, it does happen. But in most cases, right, when you rent out a venue that is basically known to the public, they will allow you to rent out like a certain space in the venue, just so you're not renting out the entire venue and they don't have to close it to the public for the day of your event, right? So what it seems like this Dahlia's, bar and nightclub, that it was open on Superbowl, because they had people in there probably watching the Super Bowl. They was eating, drinking, having a good time. But there was part of the venue that they allowed, Keion White to rent out for his little private event. So I'm assuming this probably wasn't like a big event. It was probably like a handful of people, maybe, a couple hundred people. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how big this place was. I haven't seen it or anything like that. But now, like I was saying, so it seems like there was an incident there was a private event going on that was thrown by Keion White. Lil Baby came into the club after the show. Like I said, the I guess the regular venue wasn't really popping like that. It wasn't really up to Paul, up to his standards. So he heard about this little private event going on, and he figured, I'm Lil Baby. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have a problem with getting in. And it went a whole different way. But let's keep reading into this story to see what they're talking about here. Okay, so it says police who recovered a 9mm shell casing and a .45 caliber shell casing near the scene of the shooting, and the shots were fired by an unknown suspect, and the preliminary investigation remains ongoing. All right. Paramedics transported White to a local hospital where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. He underwent surgery on Monday, and the USA Today Sports obtained a statement from the San Francisco 49ers regarding the procedure. Keion underwent successful surgery Monday, the team said, Keion underwent successful surgery Monday, the team stated in a statement. All right, so once again, he suffered a shot to the ankle, non-life-threatening. You know what I'm saying? He underwent surgery. The surgery was successful, so he's expected to recover. Hopefully, he can get back on the field next season and continue, living his NFL dream. You know what I'm saying? But now, right, what I'm saying is this here, right? Okay, so that's the end of the article. So that's that. So now we got the gist of the argument, right? We know that, this was Dahlia's, bar and nightclub, which is located on Mission Street in San Francisco. So if you from the San Francisco area, or if you're familiar with the San Francisco area, you probably know about this place. You probably know exactly where it's at. You've probably been there before, but I'm not from San Francisco. I ain't never been there, so I can't tell you nothing about this place. But listen, so they in Dahlia's restaurant. That's where Keion White's private event is being held. From some of the reports that I read earlier, they didn't really speak on it much in this report. But in one report that I read earlier, right, it said that Lil Baby had a show in San Francisco that weekend, and I think had just wrapped up his last show out there. So, after the show was done, him and his team, they decided they was gonna go out and enjoy the rest of the Super Bowl weekend before they had to head out or whatever. So they go down to this place right here, Dahlia's. They go down here, on Mission Street. They go down to this bar and nightclub. They go in there. You know what I'm saying? Now, once again, we got to remember this nightclub is still open to the public, even though there's being a private event held there. You know what I'm saying? But this is an NFL star who's throwing this event. So, he has the means and the resources to be able to have security in there to make sure nobody who is unwanted is getting into this private event. So anyway, the baby goes in, he goes in to this nightclub, this bar and nightclub. He goes in there. The scene ain't really jumping, like he thought it was. So I guess he catches wind that there's a private party going on in the same building. So of course, it's Lil Baby. You know what I'm saying? So in his mind, he's figuring, I'm Lil Baby. Who's going to deny me or not let me into their party? He feel like I'm a superstar. I should be welcome. Okay, so he makes his way down to where the private party is being held by Keion White. And I'm assuming this is where the altercation takes place. You know what I'm saying? Some words get exchanged. He's probably trying to figure out why y'all not letting me in. I'm Lil Baby, like y'all tripping, whoop-de-whoop, whatever, right? But now, what we're going to do is now we're going to get into this video. And in this video, they're going to give a little bit more details as to how this incident took place. And I think Lil Baby also speaks out in this video, kind of trying to defend himself and let people know, hey, look, it ain't what y'all think it is, it's self-defense, whoop-de-whoop, whatever. But now let's get into this video. We're going to see what's really going on.
49ers defensive end Keion White. It happened early yesterday morning at a nightclub in San Francisco's Mission District. Our partners at SF Standard report White was hosting a Super Bowl party at Delia Lounge on Mission Street. At some point, White got into an argument involving rapper Lil Baby. That's when White was shot in the ankle. Nearby residents say they were woken up by police activity.
Lil Baby just got hit with some serious legal drama after allegedly being involved in a shooting that targeted NFL player Keion White.
Okay, let me stop right there for a minute. Let's put this thing into perspective a little bit, right? Okay, now listen, before this incident even took place, right, y'all got to remember that Lil Baby is being investigated for RICO right now, and I believe that's out of Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but before this incident even took place, he's being investigated for RICO. Now Lil Baby has been being investigated for a number of things, in the last, I want to say, year or so. He was being investigated when Young Thug was on trial with the YSL trial. He was mentioned, I don't know, I'm not too sure if he was mentioned in that trial, but I know they was looking at him, during that time, because you also got to remember that he changed the name of 4PF. He changed that name. You know what I'm saying? And we all know, 4PF was starting to be labeled as a gang. So to kind of distance himself from the gang culture, or kind of distance himself from allegations that he's a part of a gang or a gang leader, he changed the name. He changed the name of 4PF, which used to stand for Four Pockets Full. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think he changed the name to like Glass Tree or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But he changed the name to something else. I'm not too sure of what the name is right now. But if you know what he changed the name to, feel free to drop it in the comments. But, so Lil Baby has been being investigated and looked at for a number of things for quite some time. You know what I'm saying? But he was definitely, being investigated for RICO, I believe, out of Atlanta prior to this incident. So this incident is just something else that they can add on, you know what I'm saying, if they decide to pursue the RICO case with him. This is just another piece of the puzzle that they can add on to their ongoing, you know, investigation of that case. But let's keep going with the video.
Finally had no choice but to speak out publicly to try to clear his name. But where it is, the feds might already be knocking. Before we get into what Lil Baby actually said, let's break down the whole backstory so everyone understands what's really going on. This situation is straight up wild.
And unfortunately, it's looking really bad for Lil Baby. And as I'm going to show you, the police have already been looking very closely into his operation. And this is just going to be the cherry on top, unfortunately, for prosecutors that have been coming forward.
And honestly, it could be the biggest turning point of Lil Baby's whole career. But hold up, because things get even crazier. This story is packed with hidden details that the big news outlets aren't saying. And it's about to get intense. We're talking late-night strip clubs, pro football players, piles of cash, federal agents, and heavy street politics all clashing in one wild night. The type of chaos that sounds like a movie, but it's all too real. Now, for anyone who doesn't follow football, let me put you on game. Keion White isn't just some random guy. He's a 27-year-old NFL defensive end built like a tank, standing 6'4" and weighing in at 285 pounds of pure muscle. This man makes millions tackling people for a living, no joke. The 49ers just picked him up from the New England Patriots back in October, and he was in the middle of a breakout season. A man living his dream, stacking that generational wealth, building a legacy. And in one chaotic night, all that nearly went up in smoke because of some rap beef that never should have happened. What makes it even wilder is that Keion White isn't even from that street life. This guy's got a college degree, keeps his head down, focuses on his craft, and stays away from drama. So for him to get dragged into something like this, that says everything about how out of control this situation really got. Let me paint the full picture so you can see exactly how this chaos unfolded. It's February 9th, 2025, right after the Super Bowl. San Francisco is lit up, packed with parties everywhere because the city just hosted the biggest event in the country. Everyone's celebrating, money flowing, champagne popping. Keion White, feeling good and ready to celebrate his breakout season, decides to throw his own private Super Bowl bash at a spot called Lounge on Mission Street. But here's where things take a sharp turn.
Just because the California team wasn't in the Super Bowl, man, don't mean that California wasn't partying. You know, California is a city where, you know, motherfuckers party all the time. You know what I'm saying? So just because the 49ers or, you know, the Rams or whatever, a California team wasn't in the Super Bowl, doesn't mean that them parties wasn't jumping off. Them parties were still jumping. But let's keep going.
This wasn't just any party. It was wild from the start. We're talking about a full-on strip club vibe. Dim lights, dollar bills raining down, and energy through the roof. According to the police report, it looked straight out of a movie scene. Officers said when they walked in, there were numerous scantily clad females scooping up cash from the floor. Some were topless, clearly adult performers, giving that full-on VIP strip club experience in a private space. Now here's where it gets even more insane. Lil Baby had just wrapped up his concert in San Francisco the night before. Instead of heading back to his hotel to chill, he decided to keep the night alive. And guess where he ended up? That's right. Lounge, the same exact spot where Keion White's private party was going down. Things were about to take a serious turn that no one saw coming. That's right, Lil Baby was trying to get into Keion White's private party.
It was like right by my bed, and so I saw lights. Like I think that's why I woke up at first. I think I kind of knew that it wasn't like the most safe place, but honestly, I mean, like it kind of seems par for the course. Like I'm not like entirely like, how could this happen?
Okay, so look, I'm assuming she's a San Francisco resident. She's saying that, you know, this place doesn't really look like a safe place to her. Now, when they showed the place, I ain't gonna lie to you, it didn't look like it was all that safe to me either. They got some little gate that the little metal gate that you pull, you know, closed when they're not open or whatever, you know, but it didn't look too safe. It looked like one of them little spots, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, a lot of the hood niggas frequent, but, you know, it's kind of got like a upscale vibe to it, but it ain't really upscale. You know what I'm saying? So that, I mean, it didn't kind of look that safe to me either. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna keep going.
But here's the twist. He and his crew weren't even on the guest list. According to the official police report, Lil Baby's team was chilling upstairs on the main floor of the club, but they wanted access to the exclusive party happening downstairs, Keion White's private section. Now, you already know.
Okay, so now that's what, so like I was saying earlier, right? Okay, so I'm assuming that this place was still open to the public. You know, even though there was a private event going on there, I'm assuming it was still open to the public because, as they just stated, you know, he was chilling upstairs on the main floor of the nightclub, you know, and Keion White had his event downstairs. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I was saying to you earlier, how some venues work. You know what I'm saying? If it's a big enough venue and they got multiple areas in there, you know, they won't rent out the entire venue. Because you got to understand, you know, most times when you rent a spot, you pay them to rent the spot out. And then, you know, most other people, you know, they bring their own alcohol, you know, and things like that, right? So the venue that you're renting, they actually don't make a lot of money off of you besides the payment, you know, for renting the venue. So I could see why they would still stay open to the public, you know, and just have the upstairs for the public because they still got to make money. You know what I'm saying? It's Super Bowl weekend. They not finna just rent out their entire venue to you on Super Bowl weekend when they know that it's a lot of people that's going to be trying to come up in here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like I said, I kind of thought that that's how it played out, you know, that the venue was still open to the public. He just had the little downstairs area for his private event. And like I said, he probably had security down there. He probably had some people standing there so nobody could just walk in freely. But let's keep going with the video.
Know how fast things can get messy when rappers try to crash an NFL player's event. Somebody's pride always takes a hit. Picture this scene. It's loud, the bass is shaking the floor, money flying, lights flashing, and in the middle of all that, you got Keion White, 6'4", 285 pounds of pure muscle, surrounded by his people, celebrating his success and living his moment. Then in walks Lil Baby, standing around 5'8", pulling up with his entourage, trying to slide into that private area without clearance. Nobody knows exactly what words were exchanged, but witnesses said things got heated fast. One person told police that Lil Baby's crew came in acting aggressive, trying to push their way into the section. Another said Keion White wasn't backing down for anyone. He stood firm, making it clear that this was his party and his space. If you think about it.
At 8/11, police are working to try to find out who opened fire on the set of a music video reportedly featuring Atlanta's very own Lil Baby.
The shooting happened just before 5 o'clock tonight. There is a map right here on your screen of where this all took place on Verbena Street. That's in the Dixie Hills neighborhood in the northwest part of the city.
Oh, shit. So Lil Baby just caught up in all kinds of shit. So I guess you know, they say he's shooting a video Venus Street in Atlanta, you know, and the video set gets shot up. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't think he got hit, you know, in that incident. But it's just ironic that, you know, you being, you know, caught up in all of these different, you know, situations on top of, you know, being investigated and possibly, you you could get hit with a RICO case. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, if it's me, right? If it's me, I can't speak for nobody else but myself. If it's me, right? And I know that I'm on the police radar for all of these different situations, right? Then me personally, I'm trying to stay out of shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to stay as far away from the bullshit as possible. Because, you know, right now, with all of these different incidents that's going on, okay, you shooting a video in your hometown of Atlanta. The video, you know, gets shot up. You know what I'm saying? Then you go to San Francisco or you go to Cali for Super Bowl weekend, you know, which is nothing out of the ordinary. A lot of people go, you know, out of town for Super Bowl weekend, you know, so then you get caught up in a situation while you're in California during Super Bowl weekend for trying to sneak into somebody's private event, bro. And it's like, you know, the shit's crazy. It's like, just because you Lil Baby does not give you full-on access to everything that somebody got going on, bro. You still need invites to certain shit. You know what I'm saying? So that would be the same thing as like if Drake threw a motherfucking party, right? And you wasn't invited to the party, but you just happened to show up to the same spot that his party is being held at. You ain't on the guest list. You didn't get an invitation. You ain't trying to talk to nobody and be like, okay, look, let me holler at Drake real quick. Tell him I'm out here, man. Tell him I'm trying to slide through, whoop-de-whoop, whatever. You just gonna bogart yourself into somebody else's shit. You know what I'm saying? The shit just crazy, man. But let's keep going with the video.
Sides were on edge for different reasons. Lil Baby's used to VIP treatment everywhere he goes, so maybe he felt disrespected being told no.
Right.
On the other hand, Keion White just wanted to enjoy the night he paid for without random people crashing his celebration.
Exactly.
Two big names, two big egos, and neither one willing to back off. That's when things started spiraling fast. One witness said that as the shouting got louder, he decided to go upstairs to grab the club manager to calm things down. But before he could make it back, two loud gunshots echoed through the building. Bang, bang. When he rushed back downstairs, it was pure chaos.
Okay, so let's stop right there for a minute. So listen, let's just look at this situation. Let's discuss all of the potential charges that can come out of this situation. Now, we got to keep in mind, okay, you're already being looked at for a RICO case. And you I think, you know, you got some other shit going on. You know what I'm saying? But now you're in California, you know, and the gun laws in California is, you know, they're a little different, you know what I'm saying, than they are in Atlanta, you know, and the gun laws is different, you know, depending on the city and state that you live in. You know what I'm saying? But you're in California, right? So now let's look at all the potential charges that can come out of this case. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you're inside of a public dwelling. You know what I'm saying? You let off a firearm. Now, I'm not specifically saying that Lil Baby is the one that let them shots off, because there's no witnesses, there's no testimony saying that Lil Baby was the one that actually fired the shots. Because in the report that we read earlier, you know, it said that it was an unidentified suspect. So nobody knows, nobody can identify this suspect as of yet. So we're not saying that Lil Baby let these shots off, but because you're the bigger name out of the group, you know what I'm saying? Of course they're going to attribute it to you, unless they can, you know, identify the person that actually let these shots off. But whatever the case may be, let's look at all the potential charges that can come out of this. Okay, first of all, you shot this man in the ankle, so, you know, they can charge that as what? Assault with a deadly weapon, you know, and like I said, California is different, you know, so they may have some charges out there that I ain't never heard of before. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of potential charges that can come out of this. Discharging a firearm in a public dwelling. So that means you're putting, you know, other innocent people at risk, you know what I'm saying, on top of somebody being shot in the process. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, this is not going to be just some little, you know, bullshit case where they be like, oh, the man was shot in the ankle, he survived, you know, he gonna be okay, whoop-de-whoop, whatever. We just gonna sweep this under the rug. Hell no, this is not gonna be one of them type of cases, bro. They gonna try to nail this whoever did this, you know, and whoever's behind this, they gonna try to nail their ass to the cross. You know what I'm saying? This is a 49ers defensive lineman You know what I'm saying? He just as well known as you are. You know what I'm saying? Henceforth, why they said, you know, two well-known individuals, the egos got involved. Neither one of them was backing down. You know, you talking about a 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 285-pound footballer, defensive lineman. You know, Baby is what? Every bit of what? 5'7", 5'8", 120 pounds soaking wet. Like, nigga, you don't stand a chance against this dude. You can't fight this dude. This dude might grip your ass up and body slam the shit out of you. So you gotta shoot this guy. I get it. But listen, bro, you was in the wrong. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be clear on that. You was not invited. You was not on the guest list, and nor did you try to communicate with anybody on a respectful level to say, hey, look, who throwing the event? Oh, this Keion White event. Okay, look, can you bring him to the door? Let me holler at him. Let him know, you know, who I am. I'm here. Woo, woo, woo. I'm trying to slide in. Whoop-de-whoop. Now, had the situation went that way, it's possible that he might have let you in. You know, but you want some Bogart shit like, nigga, I'm Lil Baby. I'm coming up in here whether y'all motherfuckers like it or not. Yeah, I mean, some people just ain't going for that type of shit, bro. They don't give a fuck who you are. You know what I'm saying? But let's keep on going with the video.
Chaos. Keion White was on the floor, bleeding from his left ankle, holding his leg in pain, while everyone screamed and scattered. The music stopped, people ran for the exits, and in seconds, that fancy party turned into a full-blown crime scene. The place that had been filled with flashing lights and celebration was suddenly flooded with panic, sirens, and confusion. But hold up, it gets even wilder. Another witness came forward saying she didn't just hear 2 gunshots, she heard 4. And when the cops showed up at exactly 4:06 a.m., they found something that changed the whole tone of the night. 2 completely different shell casings, one from a 9mm and the other from a .45 caliber. That
Okay. All right, hold on. So now you got reports saying that 2 shots was fired, but then you got a witness that's saying she heard 4 shots. You know, so then they show up to the scene and they find 2 different shell casings. You know, now for those of y'all that ain't hip to the law and y'all don't know how this shit go, listen, when you find 2 different shell casings, you know, that's common sense. That means that 2 different guns was fired. You know, that means one of the shell casings came from a 9mm, you know what I'm saying, bullet, you know, and another shell casing came from a .45 caliber bullet. You know what I'm saying? So let's just put this in, you know, general terms, okay? A 9mm bullet, you know, you shoot that out of a 9. .45 caliber bullet, you shoot that out of a .45. Now, there's not to say that, you know, some of these bullets might not fit under guns. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm saying at all. But let's just, you know, keep it on a common sense level. And let's just say the 9mm casing came from a 9, the .45 casing came from a .45. So now you got 2 different guns involved, which means you got possibly 2 different shooters. You know what I'm saying? So once again, we know that, you know, there's an unidentified suspect, you know, being accused of firing at least one of these shots. So now we need to figure out who fired the other shot. You know what I'm saying? Now, we also need to figure out how many shots was actually fired, because one report is saying 2, the witness is saying she heard 4. You know what I'm saying? Now, they haven't really disclosed how many. They're only saying that they found 2 casings. You know, now I know in some of the little video clips that we saw so far, there's been a lot of, you know, the little yellow evidence markers that they put down to cover up bullet casings to show you, you know, how many shots was actually fired, or, you know, how many casings is actually out here on the scene. So we seen multiple of those, more than 2, more than 4, but we're not very clear if that's the actual scene. You know what I'm saying? So now, we need to figure out, exactly how many shots was fired, and we got a general understanding that there's at least 2 guns involved because there's 2 different caliber casings that's being found. So we know that these bullets didn't come from the same gun. You know what I'm saying? So we need to figure out, who fired these shots, and, exactly how many shots was fired. But let's keep going with the video.
Means one of 2 things. Either somebody had 2 guns or 2 different shooters were blasting that night.
Right.
Either way, this wasn't some accident gone wrong. This was real street action playing out in the middle of a luxury party. Then things took another twist. The police found an abandoned cell phone lying on the floor. Nobody's saying whose it was, but you already know the feds are gonna tear that thing apart.
Just feet behind me in this parking lot, one shot in the neck, another man shot in the back, the third victim shot in the arm.
Checking fingerprints, DNA, call log.
Oh, okay, so wait a minute. So now they're saying there was 3 people shot in this incident. Hold on. Let me hold on. Let's go back.
Different shooters were blasting that night. Either way,
out.
this wasn't some accident gone wrong. This was real street action playing out in the middle of a luxury party. Then things took another twist. The police found an abandoned cell phone lying on the floor. Nobody's saying whose it was, but you already know the feds are gonna tear that thing apart.
Just feet behind me in this parking lot, one shot in the neck, another man shot in the back, the third victim shot in the arm.
Checking.
Okay, so hold on. Wait. I'm kind of confused here. So now they're saying, so does that mean there was a total of 4 people shot? Because we know Keion White, we know he was shot in the ankle. But now this guy, he's saying that there was a person shot in the neck, there was a person shot in the back, and there was a person shot in the arm. So now I'm confused because you're saying that there was 2 shots fired inside the club. We seen that. We heard that earlier in the video about the 2 shots. Remember, bang, bang. When the guy supposedly went upstairs to get the manager to try to de-escalate the situation, and while he was upstairs getting the manager, he heard the 2 shots, bang, bang, in the club. That's inside the club. So now, did this incident spill outside the club where these other 3 people were shot? Because how did these other 3 people get shot? How did this person get shot in the neck? How did this person get shot in the back? How did this person get shot in the arm? If you look at it from that perspective and you go with that theory, right? So that means there was definitely more than 2 shots fired, and there was also more than 4 shots fired, because Keion White is hitting the ankle. That's inside the club, where it was said that 2 shots was already fired in the club. That's 2. So now, outside the club, or I don't know if this happened inside the club, because he didn't specify if it was on the outside or the inside. But you said there was a person shot in the back, so that's another shot. So that's 3 shots. There's a person shot in the neck, that's another shot. So that's 4 shots. And then there's a person shot in the arm. So that's a total of 5 shots if you just assuming that there's 1 shot for each individual. You know what I'm saying? So now we need to figure out, what's really going on, because it seems to me that they're unclear of how many shots was actually fired, let alone who fired the shots. You know what I'm saying? But let's keep going.
Fingerprints, DNA, call logs, texts, even deleted messages. That phone could end up being the golden ticket that cracks this case wide open and exposes whoever was really behind the trigger. According to the official police report, the scene officers walked into looked like something straight out of a wild Hollywood movie. Around 4:06 a.m., cops responded to calls of shots fired, and when they stepped inside, chaos was everywhere. People were rushing out, music still faintly thumping, topless dancers scrambling to grab dollar bills off the floor, and bloodstains marking where Keion White had been hit. One officer even detailed it in his report. As I entered, I saw numerous scantily clad females picking up dollar bills strewn all over the floor. Some of the females were topless and appeared to have been adult entertainers. Can you imagine being that cop, walking into a scene with gun smoke in the air, half-dressed women grabbing cash, and people screaming in panic? It's like stepping into a crime thriller at 4 a.m. And here's where it gets even shocking. Keion White showed he's got a code. When the police questioned him about who pulled the trigger, he refused to say a word. He didn't snitch, didn't point fingers, didn't even hint at a name. The report literally says, when asked who shot him, White was uncooperative. That's serious loyalty to the streets, coming from an NFL player who's making millions and living a clean life. But this is where things start to look real bad for Lil Baby, because according to insiders, this might not be his first time getting tangled up with the law. The word is, the feds have had their eyes on him for a while now. Years, actually. Collecting evidence, tracking movements, and building something much bigger.
Right. So this is what I was saying earlier. You know what I'm saying? This is why I don't understand why you continue to put yourself in these situations. You are already under investigation, has been for years now. You know what I'm saying? At least 2 years. You've been under investigation. You know what I'm saying? And it's possibly longer than that because they've been looking at you since the Young Thug trial. Y'all remember Fannie Willis? You know what I'm saying? She made it her primary goal that she was going to put RICO cases on all of you Atlanta rappers. Young Thug, Lil Baby, and any rest of y'all that think y'all, you know, on top of whatever the fuck y'all think y'all on top of, right? You know what I'm saying? She clearly made it very clear that I'm gonna wipe all you motherfuckers off the map. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? This is nothing new. You know that you're being investigated. That's why you changed the name of your label from 4PF to something else. Matter of fact, hold on. We gonna see. Let me look this up real quick. Give me 1 second. Let me look this up. What is Baby change this label name? All right. So I don't know if y'all can see that there. Okay, so when he first, caught wind that, he was being looked at and investigated for a possible RICO case, this is what he did. He changed the name. We all know Baby to be 4PF. You know what I'm saying? And then when all of the bullshit started and he realized, okay, I'm being investigated for RICO. I'm being looked at for all these different situations. He tried to distance himself. And he changed the name of the label from 4PF, which stood for Four Pockets Full, to Glass Window Entertainment. That's what he changed the name to. So I said Glass Tree. So, I was wrong, but I knew it was Glass something. So Glass Window Entertainment is what he changed the name of the label to. And if I'm not mistaken, he used Glass Window as a reference to say that, okay, listen, my label and everything that I do is transparent. Because if you look through a glass window, you can see everything on the other side, right? So that's a hidden reference. Okay, look, I'm gonna change my name from 4PF because they think this shit's a gang. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want them thinking that I'm a part of a gang or I'm affiliated with a gang in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So I'm gonna change the name And I'm going to change the glass window to let y'all know that, look, you can look at me inside and out. I'm legit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so he changed the name, you know, from 4PF to Glass Window Entertainment. You know, that reference really didn't work because they still, you know, they still looking at him. Hold on 1 second, y'all. That's wifey. Oh, my bad. So, you know, changing the name really didn't do anything. Yeah, so changing the name really didn't do much. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, man, you know, I just don't understand why you continue to put yourself in these situations when you already know that they watching you. So this is just more evidence for them to build their case off of. You know what I'm saying? And y'all, come on, man. We all know that when the feds come get you, they don't even come get you unless they know they got something on you. You know what I'm saying? So here it is. You've been involved with this incident that happened in California during Super Bowl weekend. You know what I'm saying? And it's being reported that an NFL defensive lineman from the 49ers, which is Keion White, was shot in the ankle. Okay, so we know, you know, he was shot in the ankle. But now they're saying that 3 other people was also hit during this incident. 1 person in the neck, 1 person in the back, 1 person in the arm. Okay, let's go back real quick. Let's go back real quick. Let's go back real quick right here. This is where he's going to talk about the other 3 people. Let's just pay attention. Check it out.
Real street action playing out in the middle of a luxury party. Then things took another twist. The police found an abandoned cell phone lying on the floor. Nobody's saying whose it was, but you already know the feds are gonna tear that thing apart.
Just feet behind me in this parking lot, 1 shot in the neck, another man shot in the back, the 3rd victim shot in the arm.
Okay, you heard that, right? 1 man shot in the neck, another person shot in the back, another person shot in the arm. So where were these other 3 people? And are these people that was outside? Are these innocent bystanders that got caught in the crossfire? Are these people that were inside the club and then when this incident jumped off, you know, it spilled outside and more shots continued to be fired? Like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Because when this story initially broke, they was just talking about Keion White. They didn't say anything, not that I recall, about these other 3 people. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of confused, you know, as to, you know, how did these other 3 people get hit? You know what I'm saying? But let's continue with the video. Let's see if they're going to get into that.
Checking fingerprints, DNA, call logs, texts, even deleted messages. That phone could end up being the golden ticket that cracks this case wide open and exposes whoever was really behind the trigger. According to the official police report, the scene officers walked into looked like something straight out of a wild Hollywood movie. Around 4:06 a.m., cops responded to calls of shots fired, and when they stepped inside, chaos was everywhere. People were rushing out, music still faintly thumping, topless dancers scrambling to grab dollar bills off the floor, and bloodstains marking where Keion White had been hit. One officer even detailed it in his report. As I entered, I saw numerous scantily clad females picking up dollar bills strewn all over the floor. Some of the females were topless and appeared to have been adult entertainers. Can you imagine being that cop, walking into a scene with gun smoke in the air, half-dressed women grabbing cash, and people screaming in panic? It's like stepping into a crime thriller at 4 a.m.
All right, hold on. We're going to stop right here for a minute. Y'all give me 1 second, man. I'll be right back. You know what I'm saying? I got to handle something for my wife real quick. It'll be about, not even, probably about 2 minutes. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Something for the wifey real quick. But like I said, man, the story is getting interesting. But let's keep going and with the video, because I wanna get into, you know, how these other 3 people, you know, is involved and how they got hit. And I'm not sure if this video is gonna explain that, but we're gonna find out.
And here's where it gets even shocking. Keion White showed he's got a code. When the police questioned him about who pulled the trigger, he refused to say a word. He didn't snitch, didn't point fingers, didn't even hint at a name. The report literally says, when asked who shot him, White was uncooperative. That's serious loyalty to the streets, coming from an NFL player who's making millions and living a clean life. But this is where things start to look real bad for Lil Baby, because according to insiders, this might not be his first time getting tangled up with the law. The word is the feds have had their eyes on him for a while now, years actually, collecting evidence, tracking movements, and building something much bigger. There's talk that Lil Baby's been trying to dodge a RICO case ever since Atlanta's district attorney, Fani Willis, publicly said she was coming for him and his entire 4PF crew. And if this new shooting ties back to him in any way, that might just be the final piece they've been waiting for. When I say the feds are going after Lil Baby's crew, I mean they've got a whole task force locked in on him. This isn't just some random police check-in. This is a full-scale investigation that's been in motion for years. The feds don't just wake up and pick a name out of a hat. They've been quietly tracking Lil Baby's every move, watching who he's around, keeping tabs on his social media, analyzing his lyrics, and studying his connections. They've built files on this man that are probably thicker than a phone book. Now let me break down the moment that really put Lil Baby on the feds' radar, because this one is flat out wild. Lil Baby actually decided to film a music video right in their rival's neighborhood. Straight enemy turf. Imagine walking into a lion's den wearing a steak necklace and smiling for the cameras. That's basically what he did. And to top it off, he posted the whole thing online for millions to see. So picture this. Lil Baby and his entourage pull up to a block in Atlanta where tensions have been boiling for years. This isn't just some random street. This is a zone where real violence has gone down, where people have lost their lives behind this feud. Instead of steering clear, he brought out cameras, lights, his full crew, and started shooting a high-budget music video like he owned the place. In the footage, you can see Lil Baby and his crew flashing stacks of cash, throwing up hand signs, and sending not-so-subtle messages to their rivals. It wasn't just a flex, it was a statement. They were basically saying, "We run this city," right on their enemy's doorstep.
Okay, now let's get into this for a second, man. Because this is becoming a common thing all across the world. You know, and I don't know why, you know, people think that this is a good idea to do, or I don't know, why people think that this is such a good flex for them. Like, listen, bro, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Now, I come from the old school era. You know what I'm saying? So the era that I come from, right? We didn't go into our enemies' neighborhoods and shoot videos, or we didn't go over there to fucking tag walls, or we didn't go into our enemies' neighborhoods to film videos and put them on the internet to let people know, hey, yeah, them niggas say they gonna do this and they gonna do that. Well, guess what? We over on they block right now. We in their neighborhood right now. Where them niggas at? Like, we didn't do shit like that. If we came into your neighborhood, we was coming into your neighborhood to handle business. We was coming over there to fight. We was coming over there to shoot it out, or whatever the hell the case was. We wasn't coming over there to shoot no music videos. We wasn't coming over there to post shit on the internet. We just didn't do shit like that. So I don't understand how these young motherfuckers, think that this shit is gangster. There ain't nothing gangster about pulling up on your enemy's block and filming yourself on your enemy's block to put it on the internet. Nigga, you can potentially lose your life doing some goofy ass shit like this. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I just don't understand, like, when this shit became popular. Now, I will say this, right? Okay, a lot of y'all young kids, right? And I ain't gonna say just the young kids, because it's a lot of older niggas that do the shit too. But y'all done took this Chicago, lifestyle, and the way that these niggas and these young kids from Chicago live, because we got to remember, okay, Chicago, I'm not going to go as far as to say Chicago is the city and state that, put it on the map, because I'm not really too sure about that. But what I do know is that Chicago, the city of Chicago, and the things that go on in Chicago, you know what I'm saying? Chicago is the ones that made it popular to talk about their ops in the music. Chicago is the ones that made it popular to go onto your enemy's block and film yourself for IG and, Twitter and all these different platforms to make yourself look gangster or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people have adopted that way. A lot of people have adopted that lifestyle, and everybody wants to live like they from Chicago. Why? You know what I'm saying? And what people don't understand is that, listen, this is not an act. This is not something that these YNs and these gangs from Chicago, they do this whether the cameras are rolling or not. You know what I'm saying? This is their lifestyle. This is what they go through every single day. When these kids walk out the house, they walk out the house knowing that this can be the last time I walk out this door. They go to school knowing that this can be the last time I show up for school. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing fun or nothing cute about trying to live your life in a manner that other people who really have no way out, or they see no future for themselves, besides stepping on everything and just killing everything. You know what I'm saying? This is the only thing they know. And then you take people from other cities and states who are not really into that type of lifestyle, They're not really a part of that type of lifestyle, but they somehow, some way seem to think that this shit is cool. And now they want to go out and mimic what they see on the internet, thinking that it's going to get them some sort of notoriety, or it's going to make people look at them as being tough or being a gangster. And, you know, in most cases, these people lose their lives doing dumb shit. So the message I want to give to y'all, man, is that, listen, stop, taking what you see on the internet and thinking that, you can go do this shit and it's just going to be okay. It's going to be, it's like you got to understand that doing certain shit, you're putting your life at risk. You're putting your life in danger. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not a part of that life, don't try to be a part of that life. If you're not into that type of stuff, don't try to be into that type of stuff. That's all I'm saying. But let's continue with the video.
The disrespect was loud, and the message couldn't have been clearer. Feels disrespected, they're gonna react.
Suspects, as far as the 3 victims, they are expected to survive. As of this hour, Lil Baby's team has not commented on the shooting.
The rival crew, the ops as people say, saw that video and couldn't let it slide. Their pride was hit, their territory was disrespected, and they felt they had to answer back to prove they weren't scared. Not long after that video dropped and went viral across social media, things took a dark turn. The ops rolled through Lil Baby's side of town, fully armed, ready to make a point. But here's the heartbreaking part. They didn't find Lil Baby or anyone from his team. Instead, 2 innocent teens got caught in the middle of the chaos. A 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. Kids who had nothing to do with the drama lost their lives that night.
Okay, now, see, that's exactly what I'm saying. You in your rival's neighborhood to shoot a music video, and then they catch wind of the video, and they decide, okay, this nigga think this shit funny, he think this shit's a game, huh? Okay, let's strap up. We're gonna go over there. We're gonna let these niggas know what's up. You know what I'm saying? Then they strap up, they ride over there or whatever. They don't see you or none of your team. But instead, 2 innocent people lost their life in that situation. A 16 and a 17-year-old that had absolutely nothing to do with this situation. So once again, this is what I'm talking about. People go and they do reckless ass shit, not realizing the lives that they put in danger. Because guess what? You can go shoot this video, right? And you can shoot the video and get your ass up out of here. But by the time the ops or the rivals, your enemies, by the time they catch wind of it and they decide to say, okay, look, we're going to ride through there. We're going to light that joint up. Okay, you could be already gone. But there could be other people who was out there watching the video. They still mingling. They still lingering around. So these people, your enemies, they don't know if these people are a part of your crew or not. They just coming over here to handle business. So now there's 2 innocent people that have lost their lives behind some reckless shit that you decided to do. Not one public apology, nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand why. Because you're already being investigated, so you don't want to give these people more information. You feel like, oh, if I go publicly apologize for these innocent people that lost their lives, maybe that'll make them look at me a little closer. So I get it. I understand it. But it's like, the shit is ridiculous, man. Like, the shit is really ridiculous that we get innocent people, and a lot of them be kids, that lose their lives, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. You know what I'm saying? And these people that be a part of these situations, or these people that create these situations, you know what I'm saying? They don't care. They don't give a fuck if your son or your daughter or your mom or your dad or your grandma or your granddad or your auntie or your uncle, they don't care if these people lose their life in the process. They're not going to pay for a funeral. They're not going to apologize to you. They're not going to give a fuck at all. You know, in their minds, you was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the shit is crazy, man. We gotta figure out a solution on how we can stop this type of shit. You know what I'm saying? But let's keep on with the video.
That tragedy shook the city, and it didn't go unnoticed by law enforcement either. From that moment on, the feds started paying serious attention. What was once just a music beef turned into something much deeper, something federal investigators wanted answers for. Those were somebody's kids, just regular teens, probably walking home or chilling in their own neighborhood, and ended up losing their lives over a pointless music video beef. It's heartbreaking. 2 young lives gone, all because of a
Let's make an Afrobeat hit in 30 seconds. So we're gonna go
feud that should have stayed on wax instead of spilling into real life. The families of those teens were crushed, and the community exploded with anger. That's when the feds stepped in and said, wait a minute, this isn't just a random act of violence. They claimed that Lil Baby's music video directly sparked the retaliation that took those young lives. From that point, they started building a massive case, saying that Lil Baby's actions were a major factor in the tragedy. Authorities began treating it like a RICO case, a serious federal charge, usually aimed at criminal organizations. They were painting Lil Baby not just as a rapper, but as the leader of a larger operation. According to prosecutors, that music video wasn't just for entertainment. It was a gang display that triggered deadly consequences, making him responsible for what happened. From there, the feds went into full-blown investigation mode. They started digging into every single person tied to his crew, checking criminal records, tracking social media posts, watching financial transactions, pulling phone logs, and even wiring up informants. They had the whole federal playbook running. And with RICO charges, we're talking serious time, 20 years to life if they can make it stick. That's no small thing. But it didn't stop there. The feds began dissecting Lil Baby's music, line by line, claiming his lyrics were like open confessions. Every verse about street life, money, or violence was being used as so-called evidence to prove his involvement in criminal activity. They treated his songs like they were coded messages straight from the streets, not realizing it might just be art and storytelling. Seeing all this pressure closing in, Lil Baby tried to move smart. He started making strategic plays to separate himself from anything that looked like street business. The first major move, he shut down his label 4 Pockets, which stood for 4 Pockets Full. The feds had already been calling it a criminal organization instead of a legit music group, so he decided to cut ties fast before it dragged him down any further. But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay, look, hold on. Let me stop right there for a minute. Okay, listen. What's the sense in changing the name and trying to distance yourself from the bullshit if you're going to continue to participate in the bullshit? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. You know, so you catch wind that the feds is investigating you. They looking at you for all these situations that you've been involved in. Okay, so you figure, okay, let me change the name from 4PF to Glass Window Entertainment, and that should be enough to distance myself away from the bullshit. It's not, bro, because you continue to participate in the bullshit. You continue to put yourself in these situations where you're involved in the bullshit, or the people that you got surrounding you are involved in the bullshit. And you fail to understand that, listen, you are the star. You are the popular name. You are the people that everybody knows. We don't know these motherfuckers that you got around you. We don't know nothing about these people because these people very rarely get put in the spotlight. You're the one in the spotlight. So when they do some dumb shit, it falls on you. When they participate in the dumb shit, it falls on you. So therefore, changing the name didn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? Because you still continue to participate in the bullshit. So if you're going to change the name, that means you got to change everything that comes with it. Okay, look, I'm going to change the name and I'm going to get rid of these motherfuckers around me that's still on that street shit. You know, I'm going to get them away from me because I don't want, you know, I don't want my empire that I've worked so hard to build to be torn down because I got loose cannon, reckless, non-thinking individuals around me that's just willing to do anything to, you know, look good in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? It just don't add up, bro. So what was the purpose of you changing the name? I really need an answer for that.
Ending 4PF didn't calm things down like he hoped.
Not at all.
In fact, it made people start asking questions. What was Lil Baby planning next? And could he really outrun everything that was already in motion? Lil Baby knew he had to make some major moves if he wanted to survive all this heat. So he came back with a brand new label called Glass Window. And that name, it wasn't random at all. There's a whole message behind it. The idea of Glass Window is all about transparency.
Right.
Like saying, look, I'm not hiding a thing. Everything I do is clean, open, and legit. It was his way of sending a message loud and clear. He's done with the street image and wants the world to see him as a straight-up businessman now.
He completely switched up his whole image. Instead of flexing with stacks of cash, flashy weapons, or risky behavior online, he started showing a different side, posting about his family, his charity work, and his new business ventures. The man was talking investments, mentorship, community work, all the stuff that screams growth and maturity. He was trying to rewrite his story in front of everyone's eyes. Lil Baby also started cutting ties with what people call crash dummies, the ones in your circle who act reckless and bring unnecessary heat. He cleaned house.
Well, you didn't cut enough of them motherfuckers off. You did not cut enough of them motherfuckers off.
Removing anyone too tied to the streets and replacing them with professionals, business managers, accountants, and legit lawyers. He was building a real team that could help him protect his money, his image, and his freedom. He even started investing in real estate, restaurants, and other clean ventures. Moves that could prove his wealth came from legal success, not street activity. On paper, it looked like Lil Baby was turning a new page and stepping into full boss mode. But here's the reality. No matter how much you change the name, the team, or the brand, once the feds lock onto you, it's hard to shake that pressure off. The spotlight doesn't just fade away, it gets hotter. And now with this new shooting in San Francisco, things might have gone from bad to worse. This latest incident didn't just make headlines, it gave the feds more reason to dig deeper. And here's why this San Francisco case could be the final straw for Lil Baby's freedom. When someone shoots an NFL player, you're not just dealing with local police anymore, you're stepping into federal territory. Multiple agencies jump in, different jurisdictions overlap, and suddenly way more resources are poured into the investigation. First off, you've got the NFL itself involved. The National Football League isn't just a sports organization, it's a multi-billion-dollar machine that protects its players like gold. When one of their own gets shot, they don't sit back and wait for the cops. They send in their private investigators, legal teams, and security experts to make sure justice gets served fast. Then there's the 49ers organization, the team that just traded key assets to get Keion White. Now their newest player, their prized investment, is caught up in a violent shooting tied to a rap star. That's not just bad press, that's a crisis. You better believe they're pressing every connection, pulling every string, and making sure every agency involved digs until they find out exactly who was responsible. So yeah, Lil Baby might have built Glass Window to show he's transparent and legit, but after what happened in San Francisco, all that progress might not matter anymore. Because when the NFL, the feds, and multiple police departments are all chasing the same case, it's only a matter of time before everything comes crashing down. They're not just going to want answers, they're going to demand them. The NFL, the city, the fans, everyone's watching closely, and they've got the money and the power to make sure nothing gets brushed aside. Even the mayor of San Francisco, Daniel Lurie, stepped in personally to speak on it. He said, "Any violent incident in our city is unacceptable, and I'm hoping Keion recovers quickly. I've spoken with SFPD and 49ers leadership. When the mayor's getting directly involved and talking to NFL execs, you already know this situation is serious. It's not going away quietly. But here's the real twist, the one that takes this whole thing from local drama to federal level. The shooting didn't just happen in one state, it crossed state lines. Lil Baby is based out of Atlanta. The shooting went down in California, and it involved the NFL, which means interstate commerce is in play. That automatically gives the FBI jurisdiction. Once that happens, the whole case levels up from state police to federal investigators, and they don't play around. Now the feds can easily tie this new incident into Lil Baby's ongoing RICO investigation. They could argue it's part of a bigger pattern of criminal behavior that stretches across multiple states. They could say Lil Baby's running an organization that engages in violence, influences street activity, and poses a risk to public safety. And if they really want to push it, they could claim the shooting was done to protect his reputation, send a message to rivals, or maintain his credibility in the streets. Every one of those claims fits right into the RICO framework perfectly. From a legal point of view, this is a nightmare scenario for Lil Baby. He's facing serious potential charges on two fronts. On the criminal side, prosecutors could hit him with attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, weapons violations, conspiracy, and possibly RICO charges on top of all that. In California, attempted murder alone can carry 15 to life years.
Okay, let's stop right there. So see, this is what I was saying earlier. Like, okay, look, you're already being investigated. So this situation, look at all the charges they just named. Attempted murder, conspiracy, carrying a firearm. Okay, listen, we already know you've been in trouble with the law before. So you're not even allowed to possess a firearm, let alone be around people that carry firearms. Unless, you know what I'm saying, unless these are professionals. Now, I'm not saying that, if you're a convicted felon who's not supposed to possess firearms or be around firearms, I'm not going to say that if you are an entertainer, if you're a rapper, actor, actress, so forth, so on, that they're not going to allow you to have professional armed security. You know what I'm saying? Because these are, people who are licensed to carry weapons. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure that the law will understand that, okay, listen, this guy is a rapper. He travels all over the world. He wears a lot of jewelry. He flosses a lot of money. He wears a lot of designer clothes. So, there may be people out here looking to target him in a robbery or whatever the case may be. So, yes, we're going to allow him to have armed security guards as long as the professionals are the only ones carrying the weapons. But now, if you get caught with the weapon, okay, that's another story. It doesn't matter that you're a rapper. It doesn't matter that you're a superstar. The law says that you are a convicted felon and you are not to possess a firearm. That means you can't hold a firearm for a video shoot. You can't do none of that. You know what I'm saying? So once again, and I think we're going to start the video right here because I think we still probably got about 10, 12 more minutes in this video. And I don't really want to keep y'all that long to go through the entire video because we pretty much got through the majority of it. But, like I said, in my opinion, right, I just feel like changing the name from 4PF to Glass Window Entertainment, I just think that was, I believe it was a business move, but I also believe that it was a move that you made thinking that, because I said this earlier, that Glass Window Entertainment, there was a hidden message in that name. And the message that he was trying to relay to the feds is that, listen, I'm transparent, bro. Everything I do is legit. It's on the up and up. Ain't no motherfucking criminal activities going on over here. Henceforth, why I changed the name to what I changed it to. But once again, they said that when you changed the name, you got rid of some people that you felt like was still in the streets and couldn't let go of the street mentality. And I'm not going to say that's not the case. But what I will say is that I don't think you got rid of enough of these people. That's what I will say. I will say that I don't believe that you got rid of enough of these people. I don't believe that you separated yourself from enough of these people who still got the street mentality, who still are looking for any situation that they can use to, participate in and get themselves in what, they would call good graces with you. Because you got to understand this, when you the star, right? There's always going to be people around you that's looking to do whatever it takes to, boost their name up the ladder, because they feel like, okay, listen, if you get into an altercation with somebody, I hop out and I blast this person, I take care of this person for you. And in my eyes, I feel like, okay, you're going to recognize that and you're going to reward me for that by saying, okay, listen, I'm going to give you a 4PF chain, or I'm going to give you a Glass Window Entertainment chain, or I'm going to buy you this, new Patek Philippe watch, or I'm going to buy you, this new, Mercedes Benz G-Wagon, or whatever the case may be, right? There's always people like that. So when you have those type of people around you, you gotta either get rid of them people, or you have to, because I don't believe that there's, a clear-cut way of sitting these people down and saying, hey, look, you can't be doing this type of shit around me, bro. Like, I'm running a business here, and the activities that you're participating in and the shit that you're doing that's now in turn associating me and what I got going on with it, like, I can't have that. Because you can sit down and you can tell people that all day, every day. It doesn't mean they're going to listen to it. You know what I'm saying? So when you're dealing with them type of people, you just got to eliminate them. You got to get rid of them altogether. You just got to say, hey, look, bro, I wish you best, but I can't have you around me, bro. You just too reckless. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, in a lot of cases, man, there's going to be some people upset. There's going to be some people that's probably jealous and envious. And now you may become their next target. You know what I'm saying? You may become their next victim, because now they feel some type of way because you done cut them off. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't look at the bigger picture. A lot of people, they don't look at, situations. They don't look at, business the same way we view business. Because, okay, when you're the owner of the business, right? The workers, the people that you hire to work for you, a lot of those people, they don't really have the best interests of the business at heart. A lot of those people, they're just there to work and receive a paycheck to take care of their family. Anything outside of that, they could give two fucks about. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that, when it comes to dealing with people, right? Sometimes you're going to make decisions. You're going to have to make decisions that they're not going to be the most popular decisions. They're not going to be the most well accepted decisions. You know, there's some people going to get rubbed the wrong way. Some people going to be mad. Some people going to be in their feelings. And that is what it is, bro. It is what it is. But when you running a business, right, especially a multi-million-dollar business, you know, then I got to do what's best for the business. You know what I'm saying? Meaning I have to protect the business at all costs. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, man, you know, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the video right here. Like I said, you know, it's unfortunate that this situation had to take place. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that Keion White, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad that, you know, he had a successful surgery and he's recovering well and he's doing good. You know what I'm saying? Once again, the other 3 people that they talked about, I don't know the conditions of these people. I don't know if these people survived. I don't know if these people lost their lives. I'm just being made aware, you know, through the video that there was 3 other people that was shot during this incident. You know, I thought it was just Keion White who was shot in this incident. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of stuff, you know, coming out, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be more details to emerge, you know, in this situation. Like I said, it's only about a week old, you know what I'm saying? Maybe a little over a week old. So I'm pretty sure that they're still investigating, you know, because they want to identify, you know, the person that fired these shots, you know what I'm saying? And even if there's more than one shooter, they want to get these shooters identified. They want to get these people identified and off the streets. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, man, like I said, you know, I wish Lil Baby the best as well. You know, I don't wish prison on anybody, you know, because I know what it's like. I've been there, federal and state. So I know what it's like to be locked behind bars and being told what to do, you know, when to do it, how to do it, and all that type of shit, right? So I get it. So I wish the best for Lil Baby as well. But my advice to you, bro, and my message to you, Lil Baby, would be, listen, bro, you making too much money. You're being held under a microscope, bro. Meaning everything that you do, no matter how big or how small it is, they're going to critique you on it. They're going to, you know, like they're going to go through that shit with a fine tooth comb, bro. And like I'm trying to tell you, bro, like, listen, you're a multi-million-dollar rap star. Be a multi-million-dollar rap star and leave the street shit alone, bro. There is no reason for you to even be involved in anything involving the streets. You know what I'm saying? If your goal is to make money and take care of your family, then do that. But do it through rap. Do it through music. Do it through business ventures, whether it's endorsements, clothing lines. I don't care what it is, bro. Just leave the street shit alone. Listen, if you got niggas that's in the streets, let them niggas stay in the streets. You know, it's nothing wrong with you going back to visit Atlanta and saying, hey, yo, what's up with you, man? You know, good to see you. Whoop-de-whoop, I'm in town. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. I'ma holler at you. But all that thinking you can just hang on the block with these niggas and just have these niggas traveling all over the world with you, and you know that these niggas is reckless. You know that these niggas got that street mentality. You know that these niggas do shit that can potentially destroy everything that you work so hard for. Then you gotta leave them niggas alone, man. Point blank, period. But like I said, man, it's Blanco, and we just hit y'all with the video, Lil Baby, and the shooting incident of star defensive lineman Keion White for the 49ers, man. Listen, y'all drop in the comments on how y'all feel about the situation. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, like the video, you know what I'm saying? Share it with your friends, man. And like I said, we're going to be dropping more videos, man. You know, like I said, I'm just now getting into a schedule of how I want to drop the videos, you know what I'm saying? So we definitely going to be dropping more videos, you know, in the future. And like I said, man, it's an unfortunate situation, but everybody involved in this situation, I wish them the best, man. You know what I'm saying? I wish Keion White the best. I'm glad he, recovering nicely. Hopefully I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field next football season for the 49ers, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy, bro. It's crazy, how shit goes down. And, is the self-defense strategy going to work for Lil Baby? I don't think so. I don't see self-defense working in this case. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, we're going to see. We're going to keep up with this case. We're going to bring y'all more details as they develop. You know what I'm saying? And, like I said, man, until next time, y'all know what it is, man. It's Blanco. And we out, man.